Are we going to eulogize Nick Saban, or are we going to celebrate Nick Saban being gone?
Being gone? I thought you were just talking about Nick Saban in general, because I would celebrate him.
Yeah, he's an amazing coach, but I'm fucking glad he's gone. Let's go with that.
He's the best.
45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. He's gonna go. Holy cow.
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better. We get better and better. Team is JPB. Oh, man, woman, and child, he just turned this stadium inside out.
He's the best coach of all time in college. So
Yeah.
I just don't know. For me, yeah, I absolutely agree with you 100%. It feels almost sad, and it makes it way worse that Belichick also left the Patriots. You see Pete Carroll.
Pipe or no pipe?
Is Belichick leaving? Pipe or no? Jesus Christ.
you hear those screeching tires?
Yeah, what?
I was just trying to hit over the Patriots reference, but
It's no longer a Patriots reference.
we moved those buttons around.
I don't. So we're sitting here. This is the 26th of January, and it is looking increasingly interesting in the NFL that Belichick does not look like he's going to get a job.
No, he's not.
I told you, I thought he was done.
I just think that's just fucking wild to me.
Why is that wild? He's like a million years old.
He still got it though.
Yeah, he was around when the
From a
Comets
coaching
hit the
standpoint,
dinosaurs.
yeah. He can't build a roster to save his life, but he hasn't been able to for a decade almost. But as far as Nick Saban being gone, I think it's crazy that you look at the Final Four and, well, 2 of those coaches are technically still around, but 3 of those teams don't have their coach anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and now in college football in general, there's only 3 coaches that have a national title, and it's only 5 total national titles between the 3.
Well, that's also because Nick Saban had
He had 7, but still
7 of the last.
But then you
had
Harbaugh also with 1 now, unfortunately.
Barely.
So yeah,
Well, maybe at least for now.
No, he's whatever.
I'm saying if they vacate all their wins for this year,
I'm definitely celebrating the fact that he's out of college.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be easier to play Michigan, hopefully.
Oh God, it's such a stupid thing for them to hire Sharon Moore.
You think so?
Well, stupid for them. It's great for me because they are not going to be very good.
Why do you? Okay, so what makes you say that? I don't know much about it.
Okay, now when I say not very good, are they still going to win 8, 9, 10 games? Probably yes, because they're Michigan. I mean, that's just
they're going to go back to Brady Hoke style Michigan.
Exactly.
Ryan Day is probably jumping for joy every single time he wakes up in the morning. Right
what
now.
Ohio State's been doing this offseason anyway, I don't think it would have mattered if Jim Harbaugh stuck around.
Ohio State's not fucking around.
No, they went and got Bill O'Brien for their fucking offensive coordinator.
They've got all these defensive guys coming back. They've got Emeka Buka coming back, Travion Henderson coming back, a couple of their offensive
Why
linemen
Travion
coming
Henderson's
back.
coming back, I have no idea. He was going to be probably a low first round, high second round guy anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the fact that Ryan Day's boogeyman is now out of his life.
Well, yeah, he's out of his life, and Ryan Day went and got Patriots and / Alabama's offensive coordinator. And then you throw in all the transfer dudes that they've gotten. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
He went from having no quarterback options when Kyle McCord left to now I think he's three 5-star guys on the roster now.
Yeah.
Jesus. They've added some wild shit.
Yeah,
they're going to be absolutely terrifying to play this year.
Yes, they are.
If they're not favored coming in, it'll be Georgia, but I would almost bet Ohio State's going to be favored to win that.
It'll be those 2. Those 2 are at the top. Whichever one's 1, whichever one's 2, it's basically 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it all blows up. You put that much talent on one team, sometimes it blows up.
True.
But maybe Ryan Day will have another meltdown moment in a post-game press conference, and it'll all go to hell in a handbasket.
Yell to Lou Holtz.
Yeah. That was kind of embarrassing.
It was stupid.
I didn't realize that half the transfers into Ohio State were all from Alabama. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when getting back to Nick Saban, I think you have to laugh at anyone who is still going to try and argue, oh, Tom Osborne's the greatest of all time. I'm sorry, Nick Saban has 7 fucking rings.
Yep.
He is the greatest college football coach of all time, period, hands down, end of discussion. Don't fucking ask.
Everybody just takes solace in the fact that Nick Saban talked about Tom Osborne being one of his idols and leave it at that.
Hey, again, and also that doesn't make Tom Osborne terrible.
No.
Relax.
Being the
Both
second
can be
greatest.
Tom
Being the second greatest
Osborne's
of
in
all
the
time?
top 5. Relax.
If Tom Osborne had kept coaching a little bit longer, he might be in the same conversation, but time catches us all.
Think about that, though. Think about exactly that. Nick Saban is 72 years old this year. Tom Osborne retired when he was 60.
Yeah.
So you would be taking the last 12 years of Nick Saban's career off.
Yeah.
That's 5 titles, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Saban at one point won 6 titles in 12 years.
Yeah, and that's all in the
It was more recently.
He was at Alabama for 14 years.
17 or something.
I
I thought it was only 14.
Yeah, it was 17 years.
My bad.
Yeah. But
Regardless.
in the 12-year chunk right in the middle, he won 6 titles.
Take the last 12 years away.
I know.
I mean, that makes him way more close. Like, Tom Osborne just left when he was ready to leave.
Yeah.
He had other aspirations. He wanted to go into politics.
A lot of rule changes that he didn't like.
Rule changes he
which
didn't
is
like.
also kind of what scared Nick Saban away.
I agree. I think Nick Saban, there's that story that's going around about Nick Saban being in some quarterbacks, that 5-star quarterback that decommitted after he was sitting in his parents' living room, basically scolding him and his parents for talking about money and NIL stuff instead of talking about playing for Alabama and playing football.
That doesn't surprise me.
In a recruiting visit.
Yeah.
And I guess he just lost his shit on him. That's a story. That's a rumor or whatever.
He's also
But the kid decommitted
he's
the
also
day
a
after.
head football coach. They lose their shit on just about anything.
True. Not normally on the kid's parents in their own house, but it's regardless of whether or not that's true, he very clearly voiced that he doesn't like where college football is headed and where it is right now. And let's be honest, we talked about this. We talked about it with Vegas when you weren't here, but we talked about it earlier in the season last year and even preseason when we discussed NIL and is it going to hurt college football? Is it going to go someplace different? It
Definitely
really
going to go someplace different.
It really has shown, especially on like Alabama and Georgia's roster this last year, you're not going to be able to keep dudes, just like why Raiola left. You're not going to be able to keep 2 or 3 or 4 or 5-star guys behind your starters, just expecting to rotate in the next best guy when they can go play somewhere else and they can go get paid right away. Because those boosters at Georgia and Alabama aren't going to pay the third-string quarterback for the first 2 or 3 years that he's there. They might pay him a little bit.
Unless they want them to start.
Yeah.
Well, and there was a recruiting guy on one of the podcasts that I listened to, a national podcast. He was talking about, and I texted you guys about this a couple weeks ago. Most of those big-time recruits out of high school, they don't take a shit ton of money to go to Alabama. They take a discount because they're going to Alabama to play for Nick Saban.
Yeah,
and then they get money as they go through Alabama's system. They're going to play for Nick Saban and to have a chance to go to the NFL because, I mean, that's one of the long stories of one of Nick Saban's pitches. He shows up with a big giant binder and he opens it up and all it is pictures of jerseys after jersey after jersey of all these guys that he sent
NFL
into the
jerseys,
NFL.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, you want to be put in this book?
Yeah.
Come to me. Like,
Such a power man.
I can make you. I can make you.
that is totally just let me slap this right on the table for you.
Well, and it's
I sent you guys that graphic of he had twice as many people go to the NFL as he did losses during his tenure at Alabama,
yes, that's absolutely
right?
insane.
That's my favorite stat I've ever heard of anybody in football.
I was looking at this Saban by the numbers through his career at Alabama, or just through his career too. But it says 123 draft picks. So he started Alabama in 2007. But they went from 2009 through the 2023 draft. 123 draft picks, which is the most during that time span. So I looked it up to see how many draft picks there were in total through that time span. He had 3.2% of the draft picks in that,
Jesus Christ.
15 year span? Like, it was over 3,000 draft picks. He had 3.2% of them.
Well, now you're making me question. Sorry. First round draft pick.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. The first
Was
round
that
is like
graphic?
40 something.
It's
Yeah.
44.
Yeah.
And he only had 29 losses.
Yeah.
At his time in Alabama.
Yeah.
The other stat that I loved,
Makes me want to throw up.
the other stat that I loved, which is just a Homer Nebraska stat, but Nebraska's the only team that Nick Saban faced more than one time in his career and didn't ever get a win.
What a pussy.
Yeah, which is also a stat that some of the Nebraska fans were using to say, fuck that, he's not the greatest ever. He never beat Tom Osborne.
It was also when Saban was at Michigan State.
Michigan State, and they were fucking terrible. Yeah. It's no different than his trip to the NFL.
God, no, I take it all back. He was an awful head coach. Jesus.
Yeah.
But, just the way that I know we talked about how he didn't really like this rule or that rule or a lot of different rules throughout the years.
I think you like Matt Rule.
Yeah. But he also, even when he didn't like a rule,
he still exploited it.
He exploited it. He used it. He knew how to manipulate it.
That's what the
and he
greatest
took it
coaches
to
do.
he used it with his advantage.
Yeah.
Like, that is one of the biggest things about him. And he also was able to, I don't necessarily know if it's swallow your ego or pride a little bit, but bringing in the coaches that he brought in. I mean, he had to check a few of them.
You made the joke before we started doing this.
And boot them, almost immediately, like a Lane Kiffin and stuff like that. But
he'd go to a meeting for a potential coordinator that he wanted to hire. He'd bring this binder. and he'd set it down in front of him, and he'd open up. It's just these pictures of these ugly mugs of all these failed head coaches that he's resurrected their career. You want to be in this book, bitch? Sorry, I had to use that joke since you said it, and then you didn't go there. I'm like, hey, we got to throw this up. Really. No, but I mean, he resurrected so many careers.
Yes.
Look at dudes that are actively head coaches in the top 25, like of teams in the top 25, and at least 3 of them he put back on the map as head coaches.
Yeah, we need a bad coaching rehab center. We need a new one because the old one just retired.
Yeah.
Matt Rule, open up.
Yeah, shit.
Open up the book, bro. It works.
That'd be nice.
Well, shit. I mean, it's one of those things that to me, everything about what he did at Alabama, even though I hate it, it's just like, for me, Alabama was what the Patriots are to anybody who's not a Patriots fan. It is just, God, you're so fucking good for so fucking long. It's so annoying. Fuck you. I hate you, but I respect you.
Yep.
And now that it's like when Kobe retired. Celtics fan, hated Kobe the whole time he played. And the moment he left, it was almost sad. It's like, God, he was one of the greatest to ever do it. Why the fuck you gotta? Why does it have to be over?
It's just sad that you don't get to witness greatness anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I hate LeBron still to this day. I've hated his entire career, but when he's not playing in the NBA anymore, when he's not in the fucking playoffs anymore, that's gonna be sad. You just don't get to see that level anymore of somebody doing it.
I won't know that it exists, but I get what you're saying.
Jed's like NBA.
Yeah.
La 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 la
In
la.
basketball, the ball is more of a sphere, and less of an egg shape.
I like sports where there's defense. So,
What did you think about? What did you think about the DeBoer hire to replace him?
I love Kalen DeBoer. I think he's a great coach. I love his offense. I have compared him to
Fat butt coming.
I've compared his offensive philosophy and his offensive mind to a guy like an Andy Reid type that is just an offensive genius.
Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah. But you follow Nick Saban. Like, it's an impossible task.
They needed somebody for a year or two. They didn't need to go get a guy who was clicking with the
As the
program
old
right
phrase
away.
goes, you don't want to be the guy that follows the guy. You want to be the guy that follows the guy that follows the guy.
Yeah.
Exactly. They needed Mullins to take that job and run that program into like 6 wins for like 3 seasons.
Well, they didn't need to destroy the program, but
No.
No, I'm just saying, if he would have taken that job, there would have been way more people leave. There still might be a bunch of people leave, but DeBoer's also bringing some of the talent that was up at Washington with him, and it's not like he's a bad recruiter by any means. It's still Alabama,
But he's not an Alabama recruiter. So, like up in Washington, and granted, you're recruiting to Washington, so it's a
he
different
knows the North and the Northwest.
thing. Yeah. But I just...
my biggest thing is, does the way he coaches and plays football fit in the SEC?
Washington was pretty physical. They're not SEC
Pretty
physical.
That's
I was
my whole
say,
point.
they got exposed for not being physical enough. They were physical in their element.
Yeah.
Like they were one of the 2 big physical teams in the Pac-12 this year. But that's in the Pac-12.
But were they not physical enough because of the talent that they had or because of their philosophy? I think their philosophy is physical enough because he was also the offensive coordinator at Indiana when they were really good. And
I would argue that
they were competing there.
I would argue that the coach goes into both because he's also the one that went and got those players.
Well, what I'm saying is, can you get those types of guys at Washington? Plus, he was also only there for a couple of years. So it's kind of hard to say completely because he wasn't really there for an entire cycle of players to really ingrain his
He played in the fucking
system.
national championship in his third season.
My whole thing is, and I could be very wrong, but I think that his style of play is going to be difficult. It could very well succeed, but it won't succeed right away. And knowing Alabama and their fan base, he might not have enough time to let it succeed.
That's one of my big things. He's gonna need an adaptive period to adapt to down there.
They're one of the few fan bases that are more impatient than
Do you
Nebraska
think-
fans.
I don't know that their fans are going to be patient enough.
They wanted Saban fired last year.
Okay, so but take a step back and think about what the transition in college football is going to be here now. Do you think the expansion of the playoff going to 12 teams is going to help a situation like that? Because if he can sneak into the playoffs in the first, like be a top 12 team in his first 3 seasons, which he just took Washington from basically a 500 team to a national championship team in 3 seasons. Nothing saying he can't do that down there, especially if he gets his hands on the right quarterback. Do you think that the expanded playoff maybe buys a coach in that situation a little bit more time? Because if he gets in the playoff, even if he loses in the first round, you're still a playoff team.
That's it right there, though. If he goes to the playoff every year for, let's say, 3 years, and he loses...
I'm talking about gets in once.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting them to win more than 7 or 8 games this next season.
Oh, I'd go a little bit more than that, but...
You think so?
Yeah. I think their over under right now is not like 9.5.
But they still got to win 11 to get into the playoff.
You can lose two games and make
Probably
the playoffs.
10 in the SEC?
Especially in the
If
SEC.
they're 2 good losses, you lose to Texas and Georgia,
Yeah.
you're okay.
But if they make the playoffs...
Unless you get blown out by both. That might be a different
If they
story.
make the playoffs multiple times and lose in the first round every time, that's not going to be good enough for Alabama fans. It's cool that you make the
That'll
playoffs.
be kind of like the McCarthy situation with Dallas right now.
But because at Alabama, the
staying
standard
at
is still up here to be like in the semifinals and stuff like that, not to lose in the first round, no matter what. You
I don't
know,
know.
if you're Missouri, like this year, if they would have had the 12-team playoff, Missouri would have been in the playoff.
Yeah.
If you're Missouri and you get in the playoff and you lose in the first round,
You just won your Super Bowl anyway. 'cause
cool,
you
you're in the playoff.
Yeah.
At Alabama, you're expected to at least advance in the playoffs. I'm not going to necessarily say one way or the other how far to advance, but at least advance in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think at Alabama just making the playoffs is good enough.
That's fair.
At least on a consistent basis, you have to.
You
advance.
think he's only going to get 3 years if he's
I didn't say-
top
I don't know
12,
about
top
that,
15
but-
team?
I don't know about that. I'm not putting really a number on there. I'm just saying in 3 years, if he doesn't maybe make the finals,
Yeah.
there's going to be heat. I'm not saying he's going to get fired. I'm talking.
I don't know what the level is that they're going to accept, but it's going to be higher than where he starts.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the dude going from Arizona to Washington?
I love Jed Fish.
Yeah?
Not just because he has a really cool name, even though he spells it with more D's.
Fish?
Yeah.
No, J did.
Stepped on my joke.
Sorry, bud.
I got it. He's a really good coach.
Is he a Big Ten coach?
He did coach in the Big Ten, but he's coached up at Washington before.
Where was he coaching in the Big Ten?
I think he was an assistant at Michigan.
Okay.
I think he actually was an offensive coordinator at Michigan. But
Damn, he's had a lot of stints in the NFL.
yeah, he was also an NFL coach. Thing is,
Texans, Ravens, Broncos, Seahawks, Jags, Rams, Patriots.
Washington is Washington's losing a ton of talent, not only to the pros but also to Alabama. But also, he brought a lot of talent from Arizona.
How old
So-
is this dude? He's assistant coach, Minnesota, Miami, Michigan, UCLA, and then head coach at Arizona and now Washington.
Oh, he was at Minnesota too?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's been everywhere.
Yeah.
He was in Minnesota in 2009.
Okay. Yeah, he's going to be a really good coach. That's a good pickup for Washington, even though they're going to struggle next year because of all the talent that they lost.
They're losing a lot for sure.
They're losing almost everybody on the offense.
I thought it was interesting that that transfer quarterback that was coming up from, is it Mississippi State?
Will Rogers. Yeah.
Yeah. He jumped back into the portal when DeBoer left, but
Yeah.
then he decided to go ahead and
Yeah.
stay there. So I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what those 4 teams that are coming over from the Pac-12 look like heading into the Big Ten. I think you're going to look at UCLA and USC, who we kind of talked about this with Vegas when you were out, but those 2 teams did not start playing Big Ten football this year, whereas it looked and felt like Oregon and Washington had already started to mold themselves
A little
to
bit.
play in the Big Ten.
But now that Washington's kind of changing, who knows? We'll
Who knows
see.
what they're going to look like? I didn't watch Arizona play at all this year. I didn't even get to
They were
watch their bowl
fun.
game.
They were fun to watch.
They were fun. Okay, so that's like a Pac-12 team. Were they like a Pac-12 team, or were they?
No, they were fun because they competed. I'm not saying they were fun because it was like going up and down the field and all this other stuff.
Okay.
They were just a good, competitive, tough, fun team to watch.
He's also been there the last 3 years. So, I mean, if you saw any Arizona football the last 3 years.
Well, a couple
They
years
weren't
ago,
good
it was
until this year, were they?
Yeah, no, it was. They weren't really expected to do a whole lot this year, especially considering what they did do. They definitely weren't looked at to be a ranked team, let alone a top 10 team like they were this year.
Yeah, they beat plenty of people, including Oklahoma this last year.
He had a nice turnaround there, though, man. He went from 1-11. That's like a Matt Rule look turnaround.
Yep.
1-11 first year, 5-7, and then 10-3.
Yep.
That's pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking good. Well, it'll be interesting to see what he looks like going in there and having to make that transition to the Big Ten.
I kind of going back to the Alabama stuff, though. I'm very interested to see how DeBoer recruits to Alabama, and also how the landscape just changes. Not just because of the joke of where do all the rehab coaches go with Saban not there, but
Do you think Saban fully disappears, or do you think he kind of lurks?
at Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll
He has to fully disappear from Alabama.
no.
Well, I'm just thinking about how
You think he's going to stick around?
I'm
and
just
kinda
thinking
be
about how
ghost?
Tom Osborne still has an effect
That he will
on
be.
the Nebraska program.
You think so? Really?
Well, he was very impactful for Kalen DeBoer. Yeah.
I didn't. I figured that was going to be hey, I got to wash my hands of this
No.
because you need to come in here and run your program the way.
Well,
you
no,
run
I
your
mean, he's
program.
going to let DeBoer do his thing. But as far as bring in this guy. This is a good guy to bring in.
But
stuff like that.
everybody's going to be like, well, Nick Saban wouldn't do it this
I
way.
know. That's kind of one of the other reasons why I'm like, I don't.
I also hope we see Nick Saban on a ton of media spots this year because he's finally free.
He's a pretty funny guy to listen
That's
to.
what I
when he
mean.
does this stuff.
I like seeing him on the what's that
Pat
show?
McAfee show?
Pat McAfee
Yeah.
show.
Ugh.
He's hilarious when he goes on there, even though every time he looks sweaty, like he just got done with the workout.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm just curious to see the diversity of talent that would have gone to Alabama, and are they all just going to go to Georgia and Ohio State now? Or how is that going to split up those guys and impact just college football in general?
It might depend on how this first year goes.
Yeah.
I want to know how it's going to affect the SEC.
Yeah.
Is this going to allow Lane Kiffin to finally get Ole Miss to where it's going to
Get
be
over that hump?
Ole Miss in Georgia now
Yeah.
fighting? Because when I look at it,
They look
and
like they were on their way this last year.
that's what I mean. But when I look at it, like the landscape of the SEC as it sits, and with all that Alabama's going to go through transition-wise, and the talent that they've already lost off their roster from Saban leaving, is Ole Miss just going to slide right into that spot, which basically seems like is right below Georgia now, and it's going to be those two at least until DeBoer gets Alabama off the ground.
Lane Kiffin is almost like the SEC's version, although I like Lane Kiffin, so with who I'm about to say. Lane
State.
Kiffin is the SEC version of James Franklin.
You really think so?
Amazing recruiter, gets all kinds of talent, wins 10 games, cool, but just
Can't get over the hump.
I understand James Franklin has the one conference title, so before you come at me about that, yes, I get it. But that's, I always say that's what do you do without the one generational talent like a Saquon Barkley type? Can you get over that hump with the collective rather than the one stud? Like a Mac Brown winning a national title with Vince Young. He gets all that. He had all that talent at Texas, but one title to show for it. Cool. Or Jimbo Fisher with Jameis Winston type. You get all that talent down at Texas A&M, can't do dick with it. You got the one generational talent at Florida State, and you win a national title. Great, good for you. I'm not taking that away from them. But what can you do when you have the collective of good players rather than just the one stud?
Yeah.
And James Franklin is that way where he gets all this talent. Lane Kiffin is, speaking of transfer portal guys, that Lane Kiffin's bringing in, Jesus Christ.
Ole Miss has destroyed it until what Ohio State did this last week and a half.
So, cool, you've got all this talent. Now what? And yes, it's hard for a James Franklin to get over that hump when you have a Michigan and Ohio State to compete against. It's hard for a Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss to get over that hump when you have a Alabama and Georgia to compete against. I get it.
And you rehabbed your career under one of the guys that's
Yes.
one of the best at picking out things that he can attack you on.
But now when one of those
And he
guys
knows
is
all your
gone,
shit.
now what?
Yeah.
It's almost like a James Franklin now. Now that Jim Harbaugh's gone, even though now we have Oregon coming in specifically, can James Franklin take that step over maybe a Michigan? I don't know. We'll find out, but that's kind of some of those interesting things. You know, we're talking about coaching changes, and we haven't really talked about. I know we kind of talked about Sharon Moore, but
That's where I was going to go next.
Harbaugh,
I want to know what you know about him because I don't know much about him, to be honest.
Well, I'm not saying. I just believe at Michigan, as much as I hate Michigan, we're going to take that off the table. I still respect what Michigan is as a college football blue blood. At Michigan, you should. I've said this about Nebraska 1,000 times. You should never hire a first-time head coach at Nebraska.
You have said that.
You should never
times.
do that at Texas. You should never do that at Alabama. You should never do that at Florida State. You know, Ohio State, Michigan. There's certain big-time schools, Oklahoma, whatever, should never hire a first-time head coach. I know. I just brought up Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley and he did great. There are exceptions, of course. There's
exceptions to every rule.
But going into it, that's my standing rule.
Lincoln Riley was hired at Oklahoma with Bob Stoops still coaching there and saying, "Look, I'm going to go ahead and take a step back because you guys can't afford to let this guy go.
Mm-hmm.
Please hire him in my stead right now." That is totally different than what happened at Michigan. And the Michigan, like, to me, just looking out on the outside, because I don't know much about him, and he hasn't done that much in his career, period. Like, he was basically a position coach until essentially last year.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that much about him. This feels a lot like what the Raiders did. It's like the coach, all the players that are there love him, and you don't want to lose a bunch of people as, like, the administration doesn't want to see. They don't want to let this coaching search take on a long time. Most of the top end head coaches had already taken jobs other places. The kids already love him. They've already played for him with Harbaugh being out. Let's go ahead and just make this hire and make this stick.
What kind of contract he got?
No,
it just got announced today that he got promoted, so I haven't.
Maybe they announced him as the head coach and gave him like a 2-year contract.
Typically, you have to get at least a 5-year contract
college football, the contracts
for
are always
recruiting
5.
purposes. But they have the money. Who cares? Like, the money it's all fake. So whatever. Like,
That's my point.
It's like water.
5 years, $27.5 million.
That's my point. Maybe the
It's a
administration
low-paying contract.
just decided, you know what? He did okay. We'll give him a shot. If it doesn't work out, we'll buy him out.
I get you're fucking Michigan. If you shouldn't throw out a trial balloon when you're the defending national champions and you're fucking Michigan. Like, you know, you said about bringing in a guy that the players love and all this stuff. It happened at West Virginia a long time ago when Rich Rod left to go to Michigan. They hired Norm Stewart, who was an assistant coach that all the players loved. Well, he was dog shit. It happened at Miami with Larry Coker. Larry Coker won a national title, but he also had the most talented team college football's ever seen at Miami. But then after all that talent left that he didn't recruit, it was crap. Like, it happens too often, unfortunately, but this is fucking Michigan. To me, if I'm a Michigan fan, first of all, I'm taking a shower. Second of all, I think you're doing...
That was way nicer than I thought he was going to say.
Why are they so smelly?
First of all, if I'm a Michigan fan, I've got a gun in my mouth. Yeah. I thought where he was going to go.
Yeah, well, I thought about it. But to me, I think you're doing my team a disservice by not having a national search, because this is one of those, let's roughly say 10 jobs that I think most of the country, most coaches would leave their current job for.
Yeah, this is somebody that you can pull an NFL coach for.
Yes. This is something even late in the process, at the end of January that we are at, you could even pull a sitting college football coach right now.
Yes.
Like, you should act like you're fucking Michigan. Not fuck Michigan, but fucking Michigan.
You heard them talk about Leipold and what's his name that's at Kansas State.
Yeah, Kleiman.
Like, you leave Kansas to go to Michigan.
Yes.
You leave Kansas State to go to Michigan.
Yes.
Fuck, you might even leave Missouri to go to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy's a fucking hell of a coach.
Yeah, Drinkwitz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. This feels a little like the Marcus Freeman hire at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I mean, except for Marcus Freeman was more successful as a coordinator for a longer stint.
Hey, that's actually another example of my whole thing. Notre Dame, you should not hire a first-time head coach. I know Marcus Freeman has
He's doing all right.
well, but I'm just saying, again, there are exceptions to my
Jury's
rule.
still out on that, though.
But still going into it, I don't believe there's certain places that should hire a first-time head coach. Michigan's one of them. And I think that they're doing their program a disservice by, at bare minimum, just doing a search. Maybe they still end up with Sharon Moore.
Do you think that this
But
was
doing a search? I don't understand why
Do
you don't.
you think maybe they were searching already because they knew Harbaugh was gone? Like maybe they did a search and they just didn't make it public.
This feels like the plan was already kind of in
Yeah.
place. It's like it almost seemed more like what happened with Belichick leaving and them already having like, oh no, this plan was already here. We're gonna go ahead and do it. Maybe they think he's the next coming of Jesus as a head coach.
And maybe he is. And
Maybe they're okay with one real title in 100 years.
Yeah.
Maybe Harbaugh really pushed him to hire him.
Oh,
Because he wants to
He wants to
preserve his
protect
legacy.
his legacy?
I'm the only one that's ever won a real one there.
Yeah, I don't understand the hire, but like I said, I love it because I don't think it'll work for him. So
Do you think they're going to maintain the majority of their staff there, or do you think they'll wind up losing everybody?
everybody keeps saying that their defensive coordinator mentor is going to follow Harbaugh to the Chargers, but I haven't heard one way or the other about that yet. So that'll be a big loss for them if mentor leaves.
Be an all right thing for the rest of the fucking Big
Yes, I will take it.
Ten. Too bad we don't play them again this year.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to play Ohio State. That's going to be
Not fun.
Maybe it'll be a good game.
It'll be a great test for us.
yeah.
It'll be a great test for us, and to see what kind of growth Matt Rule in year 1.8 at that point will be. 2.8 at that point. He'll be 3/4 of the way through his second season. Are we seeing real true progress? Can we actually start feeling like we can hang with the big boys or not?
Yeah, I hope so.
Is there any other coaches out there that you think are going to do anything amazing this year? Like the guy coming from Duke to Texas A&M. I have no fucking idea about that
Mike
guy.
Elko.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, defensively, he's a great defensive coach. So if he can transition that talent that Jimbo Fisher brought in, then yes.
Shit,
But,
half of them didn't stay, though.
no, but he's also
that
he's also
cupboard got
keeping.
fucking raided.
I think he's keeping that the guy that was the interim head coach. I'm brain farting on his name because everybody wanted him to come up to here to Nebraska because him and Rule are boys. He's just a recruiting monster, and so if you keep him, then they're going to keep enough good guys.
A lot of
They're
the
gonna be
dudes.
okay. Yeah,
I'm trying to think. Of
I
any
think
of the
I think
other-
Mike Elko will be a good coach. If you can win at Duke, then you can win at Texas A&M.
Who did Indiana hire again?
Oh crap, I don't remember.
Kurt Signetti?
Oh yeah, he was the.
He was at James Madison.
Yeah, the James Madison coach. Yeah.
They were the Cinderella story this
Yep.
last year. He went 59 or 52-9 while he was there.
Yeah, they won a couple of.
Not fucking
I think
bad.
they won a couple of FCS national titles. The years that North Dakota State didn't win it, or at least they were right up there. I don't know if they actually did win any of them, but they were definitely like top 4, like almost every year in the FCS.
He's got a total rebuild on his hands there.
Yes. Yeah, they lost a shit ton of guys.
I just don't know. I don't know if any of these other head coach, like it feels like all of them need at least 1 or 2 years. Nobody's going to walk in and be like a Lincoln Riley expected
No.
instant turnaround
No.
type.
Yeah, I did a thing where I went through all of the teams in the Big Ten to see like how many players they had enter the portal and how many guys they have coming in. And Indiana lost 23 guys and they signed 22 guys out of the portal. So
Jeez.
they're at
Jesus
a
Christ.
-1 as far
That's
as
a big
the
old
portal
flip
guys.
though there.
Yeah,
That's a big old flip.
yeah.
And I didn't see him
That's also
do
good-
anything recruiting wise.
Good on him to replace the people he loses,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, that was the second most guys in the Big Ten that left into the portal.
Who had the most?
Purdue had 24 guys leave,
Yikes.
and they signed 15.
Does anybody think that Deion Sanders guy actually got a look at the Alabama job?
No. No.
You're telling me 4 and 8 Deion Sanders didn't get a look?
I thought it was funny that people started talking about it instantly.
I think there's another
Who's
reason why
people?
he didn't
Is it
get a
just
look at
Fox?
Alabama, but
Not just Fox. Come on.
Fox still has his dick in their mouth.
Yeah.
oh yeah. Well, so does ESPN. I mean, He brings ratings. Of course they're going to do that. I mean, like him or not, he brings ratings.
Let's see another 4-8 season, see how many ratings he brings.
Well, he's still going to bring ratings because people still watch because they hate him. It's just like the Notre Dame aspect. You either watch the game because you want to see him lose, or you watch the game because you want to see him win.
Oh, I know who I wanted to ask you about. What do you think is going to happen with? How long is it going to take for Michigan State to come back from the dead? Because he's a hell of a coach too.
He is, but man, with the way that this conference is,
but
it's going to be tough.
The way he coaches
and it's getting
reminds
worse
me
because of how it's going to be divvied up now.
That's what I'm saying.
But the way he coaches reminds me of what's going on down in Missouri. Like if he could find that spot in the Big Ten, Michigan State's as good a place as any.
Yeah, but Missouri still has games that they can rely on winning and growing every year. You don't know who you're going to play year over year in the Big Ten anymore.
Well, and also in that state, if Michigan doesn't maintain, Michigan State could easily overtake them.
This is true.
So,
like I said, if Michigan slips back to more of a Brady Hoke style Michigan, not bad.
No,
winning 8-9 games a year. It's Bo Pelini style Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
That's Michigan State could easily prop back up because what he did at Oregon State with a lot less talent than what was.
That's what most people said when Mark D'Antonio took Michigan State to winning 10, 11 games for like a 4 or 5 year stretch. It was when Michigan was down. It was when Ohio State was down, comparatively speaking, of course, down for them.
Well, that's when Tressel left.
Yeah. So, if you can bring some of these teams down, then a team like Michigan State, I talked about Penn State maybe taking that next jump up with Michigan possibly going down. I mean, Michigan State could also do the same thing with a very good head coach.
Well, I think unless Sharon Moore is just that guy, you instantly are looking at it just being the O's at up front in this next season. Mm-hmm. Like Oregon or Ohio State are going to be top 5 teams pretty much all season long, I would assume.
Yes. Yeah.
Because Oregon's not hardly losing anybody. They got to replace a quarterback, but he has 2 or 3 5-star guys.
And a backup running back.
Yeah, third string running back, I think, right? I don't know.
No, but the way that they've been recruiting, they're going to be just fine. Oregon will be.
Is Iowa just going to not hire an offensive coordinator, do you think?
I heard something kind of funny that somebody said.
They might still score more points.
Somebody said that.
You guys make it up. You'll be fine.
They wouldn't put it past Kirk Ferentz to have already hired somebody but not tell anybody, just to stick it to the administration that fired his son before he wanted to. Like, I could totally see that happening. Like,
dude, he is such a unique character living like it's like he's a cutout of a coach from the past living in 2024.
Yeah.
The way he goes about everything, the way he talks about things.
He's a man playing with house money.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
I know, and I get that, but like he's very respectful. He never says a bad word about anybody. When he just seems extremely wholesome. And like I saw an interview with what's her name at Hurdat. She was at the Outland Awards, I think, and she interviewed him. And she asked him about Matt Rule and this and that. And he talked about Nebraska and Matt Rule as if he was like an NFL analyst that doesn't follow college football that much, but has heard good things from a distance. Like not like their colleagues in a conference, not like their competitors, not. It was weird. It was like, are you actually Kirk Ferentz or what's going on here?
I mean, he doesn't like saying too much anyway, so it's because he controls everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just about controlling the narrative. He literally controls everything in that state. Nobody can do anything to him. So, and he knows it.
Yeah.
I'm excited for us to just move ahead of them and get on this trajectory of better football.
Yes. And the last year of Dick Fingers up in Minnesota.
You think it'll be his last year?
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, they're going to be bad again.
They wanted to get rid of him this year, but he won too many games. And when I say too many games, he still was 5-7, but he was better than what they expected. So yeah, I think he'll be done after next year.
Why didn't he go take another job? It's not like he couldn't get one. But if they only win 3 games this year,
he'd have had to go to like
Toledo or something.
Syracuse or
not even that. I think he'd have to go to like the MAC, back to the MAC where he came from.
You think so?
Yeah.
I bet he could have gotten the job at Duke.
That's the type of job I see, like a Syracuse or a Duke or like
maybe Oregon State, since they're not a Power 5 anymore.
No, but they hired Trent Bray.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I'm
But
just saying
I
a
could
job
also
like that.
I could also see him making the move to assistant somewhere in the NFL.
Yeah.
That to me seems more like his type of fit.
Although you really
I
think
don't know. He's a small town guy.
you think his shtick would work in the NFL?
Not as a coordinator.
Just anything.
You think his shtick works?
I mean, it,
It was effective for a little bit, but I
Yeah?
think he's running out of steam.
4 or 5 and 7, working pretty well.
I don't even know, what does Minnesota's schedule look like this next year? Are they gonna be okay, or are they gonna get absolutely raped?
I don't know.
Such a fucking.
What?
They're gonna be okay, or they're just gonna get raped.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
There's a drastic difference
No,
there.
listen
Like,
to this. They opened the season at North Carolina. It's in Minnesota, but it's North Carolina. Then they play Rhode Island, Nevada. They play Iowa, Michigan.
Chuba Purdy's going to beat him.
Jesus tits! Listen to the way they open Big Ten: Iowa, Michigan, USC, UCLA, Maryland. Then they get a break with Illinois, Rutgers, Penn State, Wisconsin. They are gonna lose fucking 9 games next.
Chuba Purdy's beating him in week 3.
Loss.
They legitimately could. They could legitimately go 3-9 next year.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be his last year in Minnesota. We don't have to worry about him anymore.
He might not make it through the season.
If they really wanted to get rid of him, they were probably calling the head office. Hey, can we replace Rutgers with Ohio State? Thanks.
Well, I mean, you're looking at starting the season 2-1, and then going on a streak of at least 3 losses.
I am going to miss not having the opportunity to go up to that stadium every couple of years.
Yeah.
It's just a fun place to go party.
It's a fun trip, yeah.
I mean, we'll still probably play him every other year or every third year.
Yeah, that means we're going to their house once every 6 years.
Yeah.
That's true. I don't know. Rest in peace, Nick Saban.
Jesus.
I would just say, if you want to say the word rest in peace, just this era of college football.
Yeah.
And granted, we probably could have said that even without Nick Saban retiring, just because we're going to the 12-team playoff. But I'm very intrigued to see how much, and we won't find out this year. I mean, yeah, we'll see the 12-team, but as far as how much it'll affect things, you asked the question earlier about how will teams handle just making the playoffs or how far they have to go it's going to be very fun to see that evolve as the years go on with the 12-team playoff. What is the expectation? We see it in the basketball tournament. Is it good enough to just make the tournament?
God, I hope we
to
see like a fucking like an 8th ranked team go play in the national championship.
Yeah.
Like see that team who lost one early and wouldn't get that chance to get back in the top 4. That's 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th that should have been in, that everybody knows was better than everybody else. That Georgia from last year that gets in the playoff and then just runs the fucking table.
Here's an interesting question. I asked my buddy this the other day. When's the next time we see an undefeated national champion?
This coming season.
But with the way
It'll
that
be Ohio State or Georgia.
but with the way the 2 big conferences are and how heavy they are, it's going to be hard to go through a season undefeated.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I prefer it that way.
I do too.
I completely agree. I'm not criticizing. I think it might be a while before we see another.
It'll be as rare as the Dolphins going undefeated and winning the Super Bowl.
My buddy brought up a good point. If we see an undefeated national champion, it'll be from the Big Ten or the ACC. One of those, like, say, Florida State this year, if their quarterback doesn't get injured, they go through a quote-unquote weaker conference, again, not from the Big Two, and they have a great defense, great quarterback. They go through their conference undefeated, and then they're able to just go through the playoffs and win the national title. I don't know for sure if we will see how many undefeated national titles champions we will see out of the SEC and out of the Big Ten. Because it's just going to be hard as hell to go through that gauntlet of a season undefeated.
I don't know. I truly think, like, just sitting here right now, end of January, I'll bet you see Ohio State and Georgia playing in the Natty next year undefeated. One of them wins it undefeated.
We'll see.
That's just my guess right off the top.
Yeah. I mean,
Those are the 2 easiest picks because they're the 2 outside of Texas that don't have a lot of shakeups going on right now.
But if you look at this Georgia
I would
schedule,
put Texas in there as well. They could go undefeated next
Texas
year.
is going to be good, unfortunately. Again.
if Georgia is not an absolute monster this coming year. They open the season with Clemson, and in season they have to play Kentucky, Alabama, Auburn, Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. That's fucking hard.
I know Georgia's going to be really fucking good.
God, they're going to be really good if they get through that.
If they make it through all of that, they already won the national.
They make it through all of that.
That's what
they
I'm
should
saying.
play an NFL
It's
team.
going to be hard
Yeah.
for teams to come out of those top 2 conferences undefeated. As good as they're going to be, it's going to be hard for them to come out of there undefeated.
That's an insane schedule.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's going to be like that
terrifying.
every year now.
I know.
I don't.
That's why I asked the question.
The SEC didn't mix themselves up like the Big Ten did. They're still just playing. They're still just playing divisions.
I don't know, man. I'm excited about college football to get back.
Yeah, why the fuck is it January?
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.